This is Hoosier Ag Today. It's the midday edition on Tuesday, September 22, 2015. Hello, I'm Andy Eubank, and the markets, whether they be ag markets or otherwise, are turned around and headed lower today. All the numbers for you and analysis with Arlen Suderman of Water Street Solutions. Also on the way, the energy markets, and Kayla McClellan reports on the sell-off there. And Ryan Martin, hat meteorologist, checks in with our Indiana and world crop weather outlooks. That's straight ahead. The midday edition of Hoosier Ag Today.
Indiana Farm Bureau needs you. It's critical for your farm and family that your voice be heard daily. Farm Bureau membership tells legislators that Indiana agriculture stands together on property tax issues, farmland annexation, and water rules. Protect your livelihood and children's future by going online to infb.org/join or call 1-800-FARM-BUREAU. infb.org/join or call 1-800-FARM-BUREAU. Your membership brings value and benefits, but more importantly, it adds your voice to that of your neighbors and friends. Don't stand on the sidelines. Be heard on local, state, and national issues. We'll show you how. Indiana Farm Bureau needs you. Go to infb.org/join or call 1-800-FARM-BUREAU.
This is Hoosier Ag Today. It's the Tuesday midday edition and time to check the markets. And everything is lower, not just corn, soybeans, wheat, but livestock as well. And when you look outside the ag markets, everything down there. So it is an across-the-board turnaround Tuesday here to put it all together. It's Arlen Suderman of Water Street Solutions. We have big news out of Volkswagen today, Arlen. Is that part of this too?
Believe it or not, it is. Who would have thought that Volkswagen would have an impact on grain prices? The rhetoric coming out of Chicago is all about the supply and demand fundamentals. Well, those supply and demand fundamentals are basically the same as they were Monday and the same as they were Friday. And we've seen a tremendous, roller coaster ride in the grain prices over that period of time. It's been all about money flow and perceptions of the domestic and global economy impacting fund managers who have billions of dollars at their disposal, deciding whether, and they act in a herd mentality, I should say, whether to buy the major commodity sector or to sell the major commodity sector. And they do so by buying or selling major commodity indices. There's 9 of them primarily, and those indices, grain and livestock contracts are basically a part of them. So when they buy a commodity index like the CRB index or the continuous commodity index, a couple of the bigger ones, they're actually buying or selling corn contracts, soybean contracts, live cattle contracts, etc. So it does have a big impact when there's a lot of money behind it, considering that Friday's CFTC report showed that ownership in corn, soybeans, and wheat had changed by $2 billion in 1 week's time. We've seen bigger moves than that. There are billions of dollars behind these moves, and they do influence grain and oilseed prices, and we're really seeing that play out over the past week.
Well, prior to that news, did you have an expectation of the potential for a turnaround of this magnitude today?
No, I really didn't. I liked the action yesterday. I liked the chart action yesterday. And if it had not been for Volkswagen, I believe we would have seen follow-up strength today. But the Volkswagen news was huge for the European economy because Volkswagen is going to take a big hit. They've set aside $7.3 billion to deal with that. Some analysts are saying that won't even cover the fines that they face from the US EPA. That therefore is dragging down automaker stocks in Europe and the United States. European stocks down 2 to 3%. Europe's economy saw 0.3% GDP growth in the last quarter, down from 0.4 of previous month. It's a very precariously balanced economy in Europe, and the current immigration, refugee crisis that they're facing with putting up erecting borders once again between countries is a further drag to its economy, and that is a drag to the global economy. So we're seeing the VIX, Wall Street's fear barometer, has traded up more than 17% 10% at times this morning, and the funds are just indiscriminate sellers of the major commodity indices, weighing on grain and oilseed prices. They're trying to come off those lows against the tide of money flow, but it's like swimming upstream, trying to do so.
Well, you did reference the supply and demand fundamentals for the ag markets and the fact that they're today much the same as they were yesterday. Just go ahead and review some of those.
Well, first of all, I want to start with soybeans. Soybean yields, we've harvested 7% as of Sunday. We're approaching 10% now. The national crop has been harvested. We get hundreds of yields in from across the Midwest for corn and soybeans. The soybean yields through that first 10% have been quite impressive, and they've been all over the place. There's been some variability, but overall quite impressive. My yield model is now up to 46, just over a bushel below USDA. Corn yields started out very good as well, and particularly in the last 4 or 5 days, we've seen a dramatic drop in those yields in southern and eastern parts of the Midwest, including Illinois and Indiana, as we've gotten into some of the later corn, which is something we anticipated. And overall, when you look at all the Midwest, the yields we've gotten in so far, they are running about 18% below year-ago levels. USDA's target is 2% below the year-ago levels. My estimate of 161 for the national yield is 6% below USDA. I do expect that gap to close as we get increasing data from the Northwestern Midwest, but that's why I remain confident of a 161 yield, and I would throw in there now that the latest data out showing the warming of the subsurface waters in the Pacific, equatorial Pacific, suggests that we are on pace for one of the strongest El Ninos on record, and previous strong El Ninos have had rapid transitions to La Ninas, which have had hot, dry summers the following season in the Midwest.
All right, some interesting information, things that we're hearing about today that going into the day I didn't expect we would hear about, and you didn't expect to be talking about it. But
right.
These things do get linked together. In many cases, it's not immediate, but at some point down the road, with all of that big money, it does all come together.
Absolutely, it does. And if you're just looking at today's supply and demand fundamentals, you're missing what's moving the markets.
Arlen Suderman at Water Street Solutions. Thanks, Arlen.
Thank you.
Get Arlen Suderman on the toll-free office line at Water Street Solutions, 866-249-2528. Now at midday, the numbers down 4 cents on December corn, 380.5. The March at 392, also down 4, and May corn 4 points lower at 399.5. Soybeans for November, 864.5 off 9 3/4. Jan beans, 869 1/4, 9.5 lower. And December wheat is down 493 1/4 off 3.5 cents. The March contract close to $5 now at 501 1/4, down on the day 2 3/4. Livestock is also lower. We are down 30 on the December live cattle, 139.45. December lean hogs at 64.62. Down 35. Those are the markets on the Hat Midday Edition, brought to you by Seed Consultants, simply the best value in the seed industry. 800-708-2676, seedconsultants.com. Let's get the energy update now. We're lower there, too. Kayla McClellan has that.
Thanks, Andy. Our energy update is brought to you by the Indiana Ethanol Producers Association. Thanking you for supporting Hoosier farmers by choosing ethanol-blended fuels each and every time you fill up. Learn more at indianaethanolproducers.org. Oil futures go up and move right back down, Andy, and that's the case today as the slumping U.S. stock market is feeding concerns that energy demand will continue to soften. October crude is down 115 to 45.46. AAA's average for unleaded gas at Hoosier pumps is at $2.25. Diesel is at $2.49. Your current corn bids from Indiana ethanol plants include $3.92 at Portland, $3.81 at Marion, $3.78 at Climbers, $3.88 at Alexandria, $3.87 at North Manchester, $3.90 at Mount Vernon, $3.73 at Cloverdale, and $3.74 at Rensselaer. The bean bid at Claypool is at $8.71. Get your energy update all the time on our website, HoosierAgToday.com. I'm Kayla McClelland. Monitor your grain anytime, anyplace with GrainTrack from Co-Alliance. GrainTrack uses the latest technology for remote temperature readings every 30 minutes. Let GrainTrack remove the guesswork from grain storage so you don't need to drive, climb, or keep handwritten notes to track information. Save money on electricity and shrink by not overdrying. A typical installed system is only a few cents per bushel. For more information, check out GrainTrack at coalliance.com. GrainTrack bin monitoring only from Co-Alliance.
No change in the dry outlook for the Corn Belt. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin with a look at Hoosier Ag Today's market weather forecast from the Wells Fargo Forecast Center. Now, we shouldn't try and paint the entire Corn Belt dry here. We do have a cool front that's nosing into the upper Midwest. Cold front runs basically from Duluth back down to the Sioux Falls, South Dakota area, and then back across Nebraska. There's nothing happening along that front right now except in extreme northeastern Nebraska near the Fremont area. There we see some thunderstorms, but watch as low pressure in southeastern Colorado later this afternoon hooks up with this front, shoots northeastward. I think we're going to be looking at a nice thunderstorm outbreak across Kansas, Nebraska, eastern South Dakota, and that moisture will move into Minnesota and parts of Iowa. At this point, I like up to an inch of rain out of those thunderstorms before everything falls apart. But we're also scaling back our coverage a little bit. I think 50% of the Minnesota-Iowa area is all that we're going to be looking at. And like I said, everything falls apart well before it makes it into the central or eastern Corn Belt, so we're going to call for dry weather there right on through the end of the weekend, and through most of it. Anywhere that does not see rain over the course of the next 36 to 48 hours will not see any rain until we get then into the 3rd, 4th of October. Could be putting together at least 2 weeks of dry air. Now, with this dry air, we're also going to be seeing low relative humidity values. We're also going to have temperatures pushing back close to normal, maybe even going a bit above. Upper 70s, low 80s across a good chunk of the Corn Belt here as we go through the next couple of weeks. Precipitation, at a minimum, should be a great harvest weather forecast. Low relative humidity values, it's all great. Now, back in hard red winter wheat country, where we're trying to get some wheat planted, yeah, the rains that come today somewhat hit and miss out there, but we're going to have to watch them closely as we go forward. And then behind that, we're going to be also watching for maybe a hit and miss thunderstorm or two as we head through the weekend into early next week. But that's it. Is it going to be enough for them to be able to plant? Time will tell. South America, no changes there. We continue to see heavy rains over extreme southern Brazil through the next 3 to 4 days. That moisture pushes northward, gets into some of the soybean planting areas as we move on into early next week. Seems to fall apart a bit quicker, though. I'm scaling back coverage a little bit in Mato Grosso and Mato Grosso do Sul. We will probably still see enough to get some planting underway there in a few spots. However, the system late next week coming out of Paraguay and now spreading across southern Brazil looks more impressive. Could be a couple of inches there if it holds together as it moves north. That will give a nice slug of rain. That's the way things are stacking up as your market weather forecast rolls on. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin on Hoosier Ag Today, Indiana's Farm Network.
Thank you, Ryan. That will do it for the midday edition of Hoosier Ag Today on your Tuesday. It's a turnaround Tuesday. Keep an eye on the markets the remainder of today's trading session at HoosierAgToday.com and the mobile app for Apple and Droid. And we have a closing report on many of our HAT radio stations all around the state at the end of today's trading session. Have a good Tuesday from all of us here at Hoosier Ag Today, Indiana's Farm Network. We have the latest Indiana farm news on our morning podcast tomorrow morning right here.